Volkswagen is caught in a price war in China, slashing prices in a desperate bid to hold on to its market position. Because competition has become fierce in the country.
China, the world's largest car market, has always been at the top of the food chain, with car companies working tirelessly to invent new and highly improved fuel-powered cars. But for the first time in China, new energy vehicles were recorded to have outsold the traditional fuel-powered passenger cars.
Battery capacity and range. What we do know is it's going to have single and dual motor EV powertrains with 252 or 440 kilowatts.
Monthly sales and delivery figures from BYD, Li Auto, and other car companies indicated consumers in China increasingly preferred these newly developed hybrid-powered vehicles.
China is the largest automotive market, both in terms of supply and demand.
This has driven China to say Elon Musk would crap his pants when he sees their new motor. But what is this new invention? Let's find out. Focus on new energy vehicles, electric cars. Although China has always been known to rank highly among the countries with a solid economy, its economic development has been reported in recent times to have slowed down. This decrease has led to a drop in the country's mainland growth and raises the risk that its economy will become ensnared in a middle-income trap. Since mainland China relinquished its zero-COVID policy at the end of 2022, economic recovery has been uneven amongst the different sectors of the country, with all of them making attempts to get back on their feet. The sectors hit hardest by the zero-COVID measures have rebounded fast.
Retail sales and factory output in China slumped to two-year lows in April, while unemployment climbed to two-year highs. The new figures show the growing economic damage wrought by the country's ongoing COVID-19 lockdowns.
Whereas segments of the economy that functioned relatively normally under pandemic controls have rebounded quite slowly. The hospitality, real estate industries, and transportation industries were the worst hit by the pandemic controls or regular crackdowns, incurring massive losses and downtime. However, recent studies have showed that these industries have also experienced the biggest recoveries within the service sector.
So we had this problem with unemployment as well rising. And the figures are the worst in 2 years. But when you think about it, 2 years ago was also pandemic related, so really these are the worst since they've been records in China.
Most especially the transportation industry. Here's how it happened. With the country's economy facing a decline, China has been counting on high-tech products to help revive its flagging economy. Its domestic car industry, which has grown rapidly over the past 2 decades with the production of fuel-powered vehicles, made a decision to venture into a new type of car production, new energy vehicles. These new energy vehicles, NEVs, which include battery-only and hybrid-powered cars, have been the buzz in the country with brands in the domestic car industry such as BYD Auto, aiming to come out on top with the production of improved new energy vehicles. BYD Auto, which is the main automotive subsidiary and brand of BYD Company, a publicly listed Chinese multinational manufacturing company.
Chinese automaker BYD has opened its first electric vehicle plant in Thailand as part of the company's push to expand its reach into Southeast Asian markets.
Focuses on the manufacture of passenger battery electric vehicles, BEVs, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, PHEVs, collectively known as new energy vehicles. With these new inventions, BYD, along with other car brands, have begun moving into international markets, prompting fears from other car brands that feel their own companies will be unable to compete with the cheaper prices affiliated with these new energy vehicles. But how did these changes happen? Let's find out. Before it fully ventured into the field of electric cars, China's car industry was in an awkward position. It was a powerhouse in manufacturing traditional internal combustion cars that were fuel-powered, but there were no domestic brands that could one day rival the foreign makers dominating the market of new energy vehicles. This pushed the Chinese government to break away from the established technology and invest in completely new territory, cars powered entirely by batteries. The risks were extremely high. At this point, electric vehicles were only niche experiments made by brands like General Motors or Toyota, which usually discontinued them after just a few years. But the potential reward was a big one, an edge for China in what could be a significant slice of the auto industry. Plus, for China, the creation of electric cars also had the potential to solve several other major problems, like curbing the country's severe air pollution, reducing its reliance on imported oil, and helping to rebuild the economy. It seemed like a win-win for Beijing, and so China started considering making the switch to battery-powered cars with clean technology in mind, amongst other things. While the manufacturing of electric vehicles involved a different technology, it still required the cooperation of the existing auto supply chain, and China had a relatively good one. The manufacturing capabilities and cheap commodities that sustained its gas car factories could also be shifted to support its new venture, new energy vehicles. Not long after the decision was made to establish electric cars as a part of new energy vehicles, the country began handing out financial subsidies to EV companies for producing buses, taxis, or cars for individual consumers. In no time, sales of electric cars skyrocketed to over 500 EVs being sold in China to consumers in the country. And in a recent study, it was revealed that out of every 7 cars bought in China, 6 are electric. This high success rate pooled in money from different sources into the domestic car industry, which meant companies like BYD could afford to keep spending to improve their models and better their products. It also meant consumers could spend less to get an electric car of their own, which was the right move to make with the country's economy experiencing a decline. With all these changes being implemented, Chinese automakers have now been recorded to account for more than half of the electric vehicles, EVs, produced in the world. And as they build scale, cost advantages, and expertise, speculation is fast rising that Chinese EV brands will eventually flood the global market as the need for electric cars keep rising over the roof. This brings us to the very interesting part of this video. The most important part of an electric vehicle is the battery cells, which can make up about 40% of the cost of a vehicle. And the most important factor in making an EV that's commercially viable is a battery that's powerful and reliable, yet still affordable, which is something the Chinese capitalized on. Chinese companies championed lithium iron phosphate batteries, known as LFP technology, as opposed to the lithium nickel manganese cobalt, NMC batteries, that were much more popular in the West. These LFP batteries have been revealed to be safer and cheaper, but initially they weren't the top choice in cars because they used to have much lower energy density and perform poorly in low temperatures. But while others were ditching LFP technology, a few Chinese battery companies, like contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited, CATL, spent a decade researching them and managed to narrow the energy density gap. Today, the EV industry is once again recognizing the benefits of LFP batteries purely down to the innovation within Chinese cell makers, bringing Chinese EV battery companies to the front line. China has also had one key advantage in battery manufacturing. It controls a lot of the necessary materials. While the country doesn't necessarily have the most natural resources for battery materials, it has the majority of the refinery capacity in the world when it comes to critical components like cobalt, nickel sulfate, lithium hydroxide, and graphite. As a result of all this, China now has an outsized domestic demand for EVs, and according to a survey from the U.S. consulting company Alix Partners, over 50% of Chinese respondents were considering battery electric vehicles as their next car. Such an astounding number consisting of the highest proportion in the world and 2 times the global average, all but shows how innovative electric cars have grown to be and how much China has risen to the top because of it. Automakers in China are now putting in extra efforts to build a new generation of bigger, more technologically advanced and competitive electric cars. With these sets of huge dreams, China seems to be threatening to leap further ahead of their global rivals as they step up exports around the world.
The idea that electric vehicles would make up a significant portion of all cars on our streets was something for the future. But then China came along and thrust the future upon us now.
The dozens of car companies operating in China plan to manufacture new battery electric models, with these models having taller hoods for a bolder appearance and more storage space. The cars have been reported to have bigger tires that improve braking, seats that are thicker and more comfortable, with batteries that are smaller, more powerful, and quicker to recharge. The changes are aimed at making the cars even more appealing for customers in China and more competitive to the market abroad, pushing the country up the ranks in the car market. In an interview dating back a few years before China started to dominate the car market, Elon Musk, CEO of automotive company Tesla Incorporated, expressed his lack of worry regarding BYD, which was producing new energy vehicles in China, posing a significant challenge in the electric vehicle, EV, sector. Recently, Musk was asked to name the toughest competitor he had in the EV sector, and his reply was, some company out of China, which was his way of shamefully admitting BYD now posed a threat to him. Musk aside, Chinese EV car companies, especially BYD, have started threatening and dethroning Western EV companies. BYD has surpassed Tesla in the last quarter 2024 as top-selling electric car seller, confirming how Chinese companies are dominating the electric vehicle market worldwide. In no time, along with plug-in hybrid cars, these battery electric cars will most likely take sales away from gasoline-powered cars and their manufacturers. But it doesn't end there. China is also moving ahead with the technology and regulations for self-driving cars to come into the mix with electric cars. The Chinese government was recorded to have approved data security arrangements for more capable autonomous vehicles, which will run along with the battery-powered electric cars. The Chinese autonomous driving industry boasts a well-developed industrial chain and advanced technologies, and upon entering the global market, Chinese self-driving solutions can quickly hit the ground in destination countries. This rapid development of Chinese domestic automakers has paved the way for autonomous driving companies to expand their global presence, but also within the country. Across China, 16 or more cities have allowed companies to test driverless vehicles on public roads.
The Chinese city of Shenzhen is bringing the country's driverless car dreams to life. Starting today, such vehicles will be allowed to operate without anyone in the driving seat in large parts of the city.
And at least 19 Chinese automakers and their suppliers are competing to establish global leadership in the field. The government is also providing the companies significant help in their pursuit of global recognition, which will in turn help China greatly. In addition to cities designating on-road testing areas for robot taxis, censors are limiting online discussion of safety incidents and crashes to restrain public fears about the nascent technology. Another reason for China's lead in the development of driverless cars is its strict and ever-tightening control of data. Chinese companies set up crucial research facilities in the United States and Europe and sent the results back home. But any research in China is not allowed to leave the country. As a result, it proves to be difficult for foreign car makers to use what they learn in China for cars they sell in other countries. This has helped China retain a front-row seat in all the action involving the manufacture and development of these self-driving cars. What a smart move. China has also approved cars from Tesla, the American electric vehicle company that also builds and sells cars in China, as well as 5 Chinese manufacturers, including BYD, Tesla's principal global rival, and NIO, a longtime player in China's auto sector. Each of these companies contributes to the competitive and dynamic nature of the EV industry.
In this particular video, we are going to be showing you the most interesting cars from the Chinese brands here at the show,
driving advancements in technology, infrastructure, and consumer adoption. The competitive edge of Chinese EV companies is the result of a multifaceted strategy that combines governmental support, market scale, rapid innovation, and strategic global positioning. As the global EV market continues to evolve, these strengths position Chinese companies well for continued growth and international competition. BYD, at the forefront, is working to improve the public and government awareness in China, as well as other countries and cities around the world, on the potential benefits from the development and expansion of the EV industry. But what about the other types of new energy vehicles? Let's dive deeper into this. Exploring China's hybrid-powered cars. China's automotive industry statistics recently showed an interesting twist for the nation's biggest manufacturers, with hybrid-powered cars gaining more popularity amongst the citizens. Plug-in hybrid cars were reported to be winning the hearts of consumers over pure electric vehicles, EVs.
Where it makes a lot of sense that maybe for most people a hybrid is actually the best option.
As drivers seek to overcome range anxiety and costs, Chinese consumers are now more cautious in their spending, leading to anemic gains in retail sales in the post-pandemic recovery years. Hybrid cars, which have been seen to be more economical to many young first-time car buyers, have now become a surprise beneficiary of an economic slowdown. These hybrid cars, which can run a short distance on battery and switch to fuel for longer drives, now account for almost half of new EV sales, with several producers revving up development and production to meet growing demand. The plug-in hybrid category includes vehicles with extended range technology, with a small internal combustion engine that generates additional power to charge the battery when needed. These cars, known as BEVs or battery electric vehicles, are about 10% cheaper than pure EVs, electric vehicles. BEVs also enjoy government incentives, including a waiver on 10% consumption tax and subsidies for replacing petrol-powered cars as part of Beijing's push towards its long-term clean energy and net zero target. Aside from the country's goals, the BEV has been viewed by citizens without cars to most likely be their first choice in the future due to their range anxiety, along with the BEV's amazing features like ultra-fast charging and ability to use battery swap technologies. However, that is not all the BEV can do. Some hybrid models offered by car makers have chimed with consumers because of their prices and long driving ranges, ratcheting up pressure on traditional makers like Volkswagen and General Motors. A significant shift is also underway in China's automotive market, as more and more consumers are opting for hybrid vehicles over pure electric cars. The trend is driven by a combination of factors, including range anxiety, cost considerations, and the economic challenges facing many buyers. This change in consumer behavior is reflected in the latest statistics from the China Passenger Car Association, CPCA, which reveal that nearly half of the new electric vehicle (EV) sales in the country as of late have been hybrids. Keeping up with the trend, BYD, the world's best-selling EV assembler situated in China, has unveiled a new and improved version of its plug-in hybrid technology to encourage the adoption of electric cars amongst consumers. The Chin-L and Seal 06, two of BYD's improved models fitted with the dual-mode technology, can go as far as 2,100 kilometers on a single charge with a full tank of petrol. The batteries used to power the basic versions of the hybrid-powered cars offer a driving range of up to only 80 kilometers. According to BYD, fuel consumption when the hybrid car's batteries are depleted is a record low 2.9 liters per 100 kilometers. BYD believes this goes to show how electric cars reflect the trend of the future of mobility amid the world's carbon neutrality goal. With BYD actively promoting the use of hybrid-powered cars, Chinese auto customers are moving away from EVs in favor of hybrids. This is mainly owing to the fact that EV users in China still have to deal with crippling range anxiety at times. Hybrids have time and again proven to be much more reliable in general. But how did these hybrid-powered cars come to be so popular in BYD in China? Keep watching, because this next part is sure to keep you glued to your screens. When chemist Wang Chuanfu founded BYD, which is short for Build Your Dreams, in 1995 in the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen, China's massive tech hub, it began manufacturing lithium-ion batteries, the type that are in our modern-day smartphones. This coincided with the growth of mobile phones, and BYD went on to supply its batteries to Motorola and Nokia in 2000 and 2002, respectively, two of the mobile phone industry's juggernauts at the time. Around 2003, BYD acquired a small automaker called Xi'an Qinchuan Automobile that was at the brink of bankruptcy and ventured into the automobile industry. 2 years later, it launched its first car called the BYD F3, which was a combustion model and the first BYD vehicle of their own design and production of the first-generation model. Although the F3 was a success and helped push BYD into the car market, it wasn't what kept them at the top. In 2008, BYD launched the F3DM, its first foray into electric vehicles and a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with an all-electric range of 60 kilometers and a hybrid electric powertrain that can extend the range an additional 480 kilometers. After it was launched, the F3DM became the world's first mass-produced plug-in hybrid automobile and went on sale to government agencies and corporations in China. In its first year in the market, the F3DM plug-in sold only 48 vehicles, but when sales to the general public began in Shenzhen in March 2010, 417 units were recorded to have been sold by the end of the year. A testing program was launched in the U.S. in December 2010 with the participation of the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, HACLA, and the F3DM was expected to go on sale in the U.S. in 2012 at a price of $28,800 before any government incentives. That's not all. In October 2011, BYD announced that retail sales will be delayed due to the lack of charging infrastructure, which caused an uproar in the car market. Speculations started circulating regarding BYD's failure to actually produce hybrid-powered cars, as they had claimed, but no words came from the company itself. Moving forward to April 2012, BYD announced that due to its low sales, the F3DM was to be replaced by the BYD Chin, pronounced Chin, plug-in hybrid, which was unveiled at the 2012 Beijing International Automotive Exhibition. The Chin, which became the successor of the BYD F3DM, was the world's first mass-produced PHEV automobile, which launched in China in a 3-generation format. But before BYD switched the F3DM for the Chin, Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway made what was at the time a $230 million investment in BYD, which is believed to have offered a boost to BYD's future electric car ambitions. BYD continued to push into the EV space, and this is where its history as a battery maker came into play. In 2020, the company launched the Blade battery, which many argued helped spark BYD's growth in EVs. At the start, BYD did not jump straight into pure EVs, but rather, the company still sold hybrid cars, which Alvin Liu, analyst at Canalys, said was key to BYD's initial success. In the early stages of the Chinese EV market, BYD chose to simultaneously launch battery electric vehicles, BEV, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, PHEV. This strategy allowed BYD to win the market when charging infrastructure was not well established, and users were not very clear about the advantages of EVs. After dominating China's EV market, BYD is now expanding aggressively overseas, selling cars in a number of countries from the United Arab Emirates to Thailand, and as far as the United Kingdom. However, with global expansion comes scrutiny from governments who are concerned about the subsidies that Chinese car makers have received, along with the domination of the car market. With doubts in their mind, the European Commission, the executive arm of the European Union, announced the launch of an investigation into subsidies given to electric vehicle makers in China.
Objective of developing EVs or a Made in China 2025, it's not as simple as just one-off subsidies. It's a whole effort that the party state gets behind. You have cheap lending, partly funded by the PBOC.
The unexpected announcement marks yet another bump in the road for EU-China relations, and comes after the US and Europe came to an agreement to reduce their dependence on Beijing, rather than completely cutting ties. Europe's biggest car manufacturers informed the government that they were wary about the competitive threat posed by new Chinese companies as the automobile industry moves toward electrification. As the electric vehicle sector stands as a crucial industry for the clean economy with a huge potential in Europe, the car companies argue that the global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars, and their prices are kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. Although this concern or conclusion might have risen from the EU's fear of China completely overtaking them in the electric vehicle market, China appears to be oblivious to it all, as they push to place themselves right at the top of the car market.
Going after China recently for unfairly propping up its electric car industry. In fact, the European Commission's anti-subsidy investigation.
However, Chinese car brands still face challenges in Western markets, with limited recognition and reputation, even though BYD appears to have taken the lead in the electric vehicle market in China. BYD has expanded its presence outside China, especially in Asia, primarily focusing on electric buses, trucks, and batteries, rather than just personal vehicles. Nevertheless, BYD is striving to improve its international image in various ways.
Kind of secret Chinese superpower of state capitalism, where you have entrepreneurs driving costs down, innovating, designing better product, while at the same time getting tremendous support from city.
This includes hiring Leonardo DiCaprio as a brand ambassador, and appointing Wolfgang Egger, former head of design at Audi, as the company's design chief. Additionally, BYD is preparing to build an electric car manufacturing plant in Morocco, signaling its intent to penetrate Western markets soon. Ultimately, with the efforts being put in place, BYD might just get China to the top of the car market on a global scale. With China producing new energy vehicles like electric cars and hybrid-powered cars, do you think the country will eventually take over the car market? Let us know what you think in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.